Assad stresses the importance of continuing consultations and partnership with the industrialists to draw a viable economic strategy. Security forces kill terrorists in Deir and Homs countryside and capture Turkish and French weapons in al-Haffa. And in collaboration with the Italian human rights societies and peace organizations, the Syrian community in Italy holds a march of solidarity with Syria and its people. Welcome, this is news in English from the Syrian Arab television in Damascus. President Bashar al-Assad praised the role which the Syrian industrialists have played during the events taking place in the country in terms of strengthening the national economy and guaranteeing the workers' rights. President Assad's statement came during his meeting with the members of the board of directors of Damascus and Damascus Countryside Chamber of Industry. Discussions dealt with the situation of the industrial sector at the current stage in light of the sanctions recently imposed on the country, with the board members stressing that these sanctions will not shake their adherence to their stances of rejecting the attempts aiming at destabilizing Syria and all forms of foreign interference in its internal affairs. They also affirmed the industrial sector's ability to cope with these sanctions, which they said could constitute an incentive to boost the national industries through dedicating work for developing local products instead of depending on the imported ones. President Assad stressed the importance of continuing consultation and partnership between the industrial councils and the relevant state bodies to draw up a viable economic strategy that goes in line with the reality of the situation and does not change whenever governments and administrations change. The talks also discussed a set of ideas meant to upgrade the industrial sector, the most important of which being the means of ensuring energy sources to ensure the functioning of factories. President Assad gave instructions to the board members to immediately hold a meeting with the relevant bodies to discuss their suggestions for developing small and medium-sized industries. For the second day, the People's Assembly continued its discussions for forming more new committees relating to public freedoms, human rights and rights of women, children, family and youth, in addition to freedom of press, printing and publishing. Members of the Assembly asserted the need that words should be accompanied with serious work and that the Assembly would take the initiative in this regard. In a letter addressed to the chairman of the UN Security Council, the UN Secretary General and the General Assembly of the United Nations, the Syrian Foreign Ministry asserted that the resolution of the Arab League Council to stop the transmission of Syrian satellite channels was politically unprecedented and contrary to the principles of freedom of information. It also contradicted the sixth item of Annan's plan. The resolution constituted a media piracy exposing the sinister intentions of Qatar and Saudi Arabia with their involvement in a plot against Syria and its people. Both states arm and finance the terrorists. They block the Syrian media in favor of the false image promoted by their official channels about Syria and its government. The ministry also reaffirmed commitment to Annan's plan concerning the freedom of and entry of mass media to Syria. The resolution of the Arab League Council is an attempt to silence the Syrian mass media, which belong to the Syrian people. It is in line with the shameful and dangerous resolutions in the history of the work of international mass media. Iranian President Mahmoud Ahmadinejad said that foreign intervention in Syria is an obstacle to the reform process. In an interview with the German newspaper Frankfurter, President Ahmadinejad said that he regretted the developments in Syria, underlining that Iran's position towards Syria is based on the people's right to determine their destiny and the need to carry out reforms, asserting that problems in Syria can be resolved through dialogue in a friendly, stable and quiet atmosphere. Such a push was confronted by the interests of foreign powers that have prevented it. Ahmadinejad pointed out that his country's support of the dialogue between all parties in Syria is consistent, but many countries in Europe and America stand against it. As the people of Al-Haffa continue to return to their homes, security forces continue to pursue armed terrorist groups in the area. While pursuing the armed terrorists, security forces seized French-made explosives and Turkish gunpowder. The confiscated materials also included night goggles and advanced communication sets. And in a related context, armed terrorist groups tried to infiltrate into Syria from Lebanon and the Telkalach countryside in Homs Governorate. The security forces clashed with them, killing and wounding a number of terrorists. Such attempts are recurrent in this area. The terrorists used loudspeakers to call for ambulance vehicles from the Lebanese side to treat the wounded. In Al-Bukamal city, security forces clashed with an armed terrorist group near the Syrian-Iraqi borders. An official source said that the clashes resulted in the injury of some terrorists and the confiscation of their weapons. The confiscated weapons included mortar bombs, RPG launchers, PKC machine guns, Russian rifles, and other ammunition. Also in Al-Assad, the engineering units of the Syrian Arab Army defused an explosive charge weighing 50 kilograms planted by an armed terrorist group. An official source said that the explosive device was planted near Al-Assad in Homs and was ready for remote detonation to target citizens and law enforcement forces. The Center of Arab-Italian Friendship renewed condemnation of foreign interference in Syria's internal affairs, stressing solidarity with the Syrian government. And the Syrian Arab Army, which is subjected to daily attacks carried out by armed terrorist groups supported by foreign states. The People's Square in Rome witnessed solidarity gatherings with Syrian people. The participants denounced the Italian government's decision taken against Syria. They affirmed that terrorist groups do not want reform and they are seeking to divide Syria and ignite a civil war in it. The Center of Arab-Italian Friendship, which includes a large number of Italian parliamentarians, writers and journalists, considered the current year a year of solidarity with Syria. The Center carried out increasing activities to condemn the flagrant violations and foreign intervention in Syria's affairs. 30 Italian reporters visited Syria recently and described the real situation, and thus contributed to the spread of awareness about the plot. The Rome branch of this center was set up after several other branches emerged in 1994. In Jordan, outstanding writers, intellectuals and academics asserted their position in support of Syria and its firm stance in face of the scheme that targets its resistance and to the Western and Zio-American blocs in the region. Mr. Elisa Shatat, member of the Jordanian Writers Association, said that Syria is facing a scheme that targets its national unity. For his part, Mansour Murad, chairman of the People's Committee in support of Syria, asserted the role of the Arab intellectuals in revealing the suspicious role of some of the Gulf regimes who try to undermine the Arab national security in cooperation with Turkey and some Western countries. And with this, we come to the end of our news for today. For more news and details about Syria and the region, log on to our website in English, www